Hello everyone, I'm Salad and welcome back to Danganronpa 0. Last time we read through 17 chapters. We got introduced to our main character Ryoko Otanashi and the person that she loves, Yasuke. All sorts of stuff happened. She ran into Junko Enoshima. We learned that Kyoko was investigating the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy along with her father. And there was all sorts of stuff going along with someone called Izuru, and that person was suspected of being in charge of that. But in the game, we've learned now that they are the the founder of Hope's Peak Academy. Izuru Kamakura, I think, was their name. And then somebody else in this novel referred to them as like a symbol of hope, and that Junko was trying to find them to get rid of them. I don't know. There's a lot of things going on that still aren't quite clear. Yasuke is still investigating things, but seems to be discouraged by what he's finding. Maybe he's trying to protect Ryoko and doesn't want to believe that Ryoko is maybe behind it. I don't know. Stuff's happening. It's all very confusing. We're going to continue reading on through this. We're going to do it the same way as I did last time. I'll keep reading through this, and I'll stop at various points to give a summary of what's going on, and also to give my thoughts. So let's jump back into this. Oh, Makoto. Okay, so Makoto Naegi, the protagonist of the first Danganronpa game, is actually in here. So what's happening is that Ryoko is rushing to the biology lab to try to find Yasuke to warn him that he's in danger, that somebody is going to try to kill him. But she ran into Makoto there instead. I wonder what his role is going to be in this story. Again, I'm glad that we're getting characters that we actually know to give a bit more context and connect things a little bit better just for my own understanding. Alright, so this is a bit interesting. Makoto is showing that he found Yasuke's e-handbook. And apparently having the e-handbook means that you are part of the main school, that you're not a reserve student. So Yasuke is part of the main school, but it seems like Ryoko doesn't recognize an e-handbook, which maybe it's just her forgetting things randomly, but it's also possible that she doesn't have an e-handbook, and that's why she can't recognize it, which would mean that she's not part of the main school. Or it could mean that her handbook is missing, because if she were to see the name on her e-handbook, maybe it would be different from the current one that she is now. It's not actually Ryoko. Maybe it's something else. The only reason I say that is because I had a crazy theory in my Danganronpa 2 playthrough that Mikan Sumiki was actually Ryoko somehow. I still don't really know if that's fully right. I'm not very confident in that theory. It's kind of a wild theory, but that's the reason that I bring that up, is because she doesn't have an e-handbook, so there's no way of confirming her name and confirming the things that she knows and whether or not they're true, whether or not she is the person that she thinks she is. But it's good that we're getting confirmation that at least Yasuke is part of the main group, the main school. So Makoto seems to know Ryoko before she lost all of her memories, before she became forgetful. That does imply that Ryoko should be one of the main students of Hope's Peak Academy, right? If Makoto, well, I mean, I guess it's possible that Makoto would know somebody that's one of the reserve students, but I think it makes it more likely that Ryoko was actually part of the main school and should actually have an e-handbook. This is weird. Ishiki Madarai, which is Madarai, however you pronounce it, man, he has a hard name to pronounce. The person who was killed by Junko Enoshima, he was flattened by shelves by Ryoko or something, and then Junko Enoshima came and killed him, I believe. Or at least Junko thought that he was dead. But now he's back, and says that, oh, I must be immortal because I'm somehow alive. This doesn't make any sense, obviously, but let's see where this goes. Oh, okay, Madarai, or Ishiki, I'll just say Ishiki because that's easier to say. He was part of the student council. He says there's a survivor from the student council. So the tragedy that happened in Hope's Peak Academy Did everyone who died there, were they all part of the student council? Were they all student council members? I'm guessing that's the case. What a weird picture of Madurai. So he's the ultimate bodyguard is what we just learned. And he's clearly very upset. What is happening here? He's willing to do anything for vengeance. Yeah, obviously Makoto's not going to die here, but this is a very weird, crazy looking picture of him. Madurai is threatening Makoto here and threatening Ryoko. He wants to crush Makoto's head, but somebody just came in and kicked him in the face, kicked Madurai in the face. I'm guessing this might be Sakura, because who else would be able to defeat the ultimate bodyguard? No, it's Mukuro. Mukuro Ikusaba. The ultimate despair lying hidden somewhere in the school. She's the one, huh? Okay. Well, she is the ultimate soldier, so that also makes sense. Someone's hiding in the room. Okay, Mukuro obviously has good spider senses from being the ultimate soldier. She can tell that someone's hiding. Is it Yasuke? Oh no, it's the spy kid. The unnoticeable one. Alright, well, he's still around. There's so many different pieces and characters and stuff interacting in the story, but none of it's coming together yet, and I'm really anxious for it to actually come together and for some questions to be answered. The fact that our main character is somebody who is an unreliable narrator, their memories constantly being wiped, it makes it really tough to understand what's actually the end goal, or get a grasp of the full story here. It's tough. It's tough to understand where this is all going in the end. So we just had a full page of them discussing what to do about Madurai's body, because he's only knocked unconscious, not dead or anything. Obviously, they're not gonna kill him. They were talking about how they wanted to bring him to the security department or something and turn him in and explain the situation. For some reason, they made a big deal about all this. I'm not sure why, but Mukuro is going to be the one to bring them somewhere, gonna take care of him in some way. Like, I don't understand why Yuto doesn't want Mukuro to bring Madurai's body to the security department and explain the situation that just happened, but he doesn't. And it seems like they're going along with that, which doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't you report that this guy just tried to kill Makoto? A lot of these characters don't really act in logical ways, which, I mean, they're very bizarre characters, so that makes sense that they're acting in bizarre ways, but sometimes their actions just don't make a lot of sense. When really you should just be telling authorities when all these kinds of things happen, or when the tragedy of Host Peak Academy happened and they were trying to cover it up. That again is just not a reasonable action that you would expect anyone to take. So, but of course we're missing information still, and that's my main issue right now, is we're still missing information. So while we are missing information, all of this stuff, all the actions that these characters are taking, that the Hope's Peak Academy is taking as well, that the villains are taking, Junko and Oshima, all of these things aren't going to make any sense and are going to seem illogical or just out of nowhere. And it's a bit unfortunate. It's just a side effect of the way that this story is told, that it seems kind of random. It seems kind of random the way things move from one scene to another. We'll see. We're gonna keep going and see where all this goes, but I really wish at least some questions were answered at this point. We're more than halfway through this novel and nothing has really happened, and nothing has really been explained either. So, I mean, well, somebody died. There was like a person outside that died, Junko and Oshima, and there's that person who got smushed with a desk. Well, I still know almost nothing about what's actually going on in this story, even this far into it. Now this is a crazy chapter. So Yasuke is interrogating Soshun Murasame, the person who woke up and had apparently survived what happened in the tragedy. And he asks all sorts of questions. And they respond, Izuru Kamakura killed the student council. But they say it like in a weird way, and I guess it's not actually. I don't know why this is what confuses me. I don't know why they say Izuru Kamakura killed the student council, but then the next lines after that make it confusing whether or not that actually is true. And then they ask about Junko and Oshima, and it seems like Junko is actually the one behind it. So why did he say that Izuru Kamakura killed the student council? It almost as if they said it like a question, and they asked whether or not that person was even real. Has no one ever even met the founder of Hope's Peak Academy? Why ask if they're real or not? Was it just a legend that somebody created and founded the Hope's Peak Academy? I don't get that. I don't get that part at all. But this part makes more sense. Junko and Oshima, just asking him about that, causes him to go into a frenzy. He starts saying, must kill Junko, blah, 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 blah. And he starts yelling it and saying, kill, kill, kill. So obviously that triggers him pretty badly. And it seems, and Yasuke is actually choking him and I think going to kill him because this guy's gone mad and started saying, kill, 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 kill. Why did he go this crazy when Junko's name was spoken? You can make some sense out of that because Junko was behind all of it. Junko did the killing. Maybe really is triggered by that. That makes sense. But Yasuke's actions, trying to kill Soshun Murasame, trying to kill this guy just because he's gone a little bit is just because he's gone kind of rage mode by being triggered by the name Junko and Oshima. Now he's gonna kill him. At least that's what it seems like. And Yasuke is talking about a person that they have to protect at all costs. Is that person? I mean, you would think that person they're talking about is Ryoko, but are they actually talking about Junko? Is the person that Yasuke likes actually Junko and Oshima? Is that why he's so upset learning that Junko might be behind all this stuff? Is that why he's killing Soshun Murasame right now? Because he knows the truth and now Yasuke wants to hide the truth by killing this witness? And yeah, he killed him. So yeah, I don't know what to think of this. Yasuke is clearly... You would think that Yasuke would be helping out Ryoko just like Ryoko wants to help out Yasuke. And it seemed to be that way, but it really looks like he wants to protect Junko, which is weird. So even Yuto thinks that Izuru Kamakura is the culprit of the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. Why is why is he so confident in that? Okay, so we actually are getting a few answers here. So Izuru Kamakura, nobody actually knows who this person is. And in fact, there's no information about them at all. No records that they are a student or that they're faculty or that they're whatever. Based on what I saw in Danganronpa 2, it seems that they're the founder of Hope's Peak Academy, in which case they're probably long dead, I would think, because of how long the school's been around. But maybe that's not the case during this time. I don't know. Maybe this person does exist. But apparently Junko was the one who discovered the incident, discovered the tragedy. Maybe Junko invented... Maybe Junko is trying to pin the crime on Izuru Kamakura? Maybe that's what's happening? Like maybe Junko set up this murder or this tragedy and is trying to take down Hope's Peak Academy with that? I think that's right. I think that's actually it. I think what happened is Junko, since they're the ultimate despair, they want to destroy Hope, right? And the symbol of Hope is Hope's Peak Academy. So the way to destroy them would be to destroy their credibility. to show that maybe their highest level of person or whatever caused like murdered a bunch of students, murdered the student council. It seems like that would make sense, right? Junko is trying to destroy Hope Speak Academy's reputation by spreading rumors of the tragedy, even though maybe she caused it herself or someone related to her caused it. Then the question is, where is this Izuru Kamakura person in all of this? And that also explains why the higher-ups of Hope Speak Academy tried to prevent all this information from leaking out, prevent their reputation from being tarnished, because they're not just trying to protect their own reputation, they're also trying to protect Hope, because of maybe maybe the despair is already growing at this point, and they're really necessary for the rest of the universe, the rest of humanity to cling on to Hope. They need to still exist. Yeah, that's my speculations for the moment. See what else we learn here. Oh, this is interesting. So Yasuke was helping out with the interrogation of Junko Enoshima since she was the initial main suspect. She discovered the crime. And if Yasuke was the one in charge of, he was in charge of a machine that was supposed to use what they call brain fingerprinting, basically just lie detection. So if Yasuke was in charge of that, Yasuke could have tampered with the results or tampered with the machinery so that it seemed like Junko was telling the truth. So I think this lends credibility to my thoughts that Yasuke was trying to cover for Junko Enoshima, was trying to protect her. Okay, so if that's really the case, then can't really like Yasuke. Cannot. So if Yasuke really is helping out Junko Enoshima, I feel like Yasuke is going to die by the end of this. And the reason I say that is because the ultimate despair, what do they want the most? They want despair. And if Yasuke is helping out Junko Enoshima out of love or something like that, killing him herself would generate a lot of despair, both for Yasuke and also probably for Junko Enoshima herself, and she would probably enjoy that. So I feel like that's the direction this is likely to go if this continues. Another thing that's possible is that maybe Yasuke is just helping out Junko for Ryoko's sake. Maybe Junko actually has a way to fix Ryoko, or maybe stole her memories and somehow, I don't know, maybe there's something going on there where for some reason it benefits Ryoko to be helping Junko, for Yasuke to be helping Junko. I don't know. There's only so I can like put out all these random speculations, but again, we don't have enough information to make any conclusions about anything at this point. Okay, so Yasuke came back to the room where he left Ryoko and didn't find Ryoko there. Instead, he found Junko Enoshima. And it seems like Junko is saying that she has everybody just running around doing work for her, which is true. Everyone seems to just be following her plans. And I guess Yasuke doesn't realize that he's following her plans too. But this is confusing to me because it seemed like he was trying to protect Junko by strangling that guy. He's still shooken up about that, understandably. Still don't really understand why he's doing that though. Why did he have to kill that person for just when he mentioned Junko Enoshima and he went all crazy? Why did he have to kill him? I still don't get that. Maybe it'll become more clear as we continue to read on, but it's clear that he was not explicitly working for Junko Enoshima. He just so happened to be doing whatever Junko wants. I'm not sure how Junko managed to make that what he did. Why that's how she's managing to have everybody follow her plans. But yeah, I guess that's all I wanted to say, is that clearly he's, according to what he's saying here, they're not explicitly working together. It's just everyone just so happens to be doing things that follow under her plans. So even Junko Enoshima is saying that Izuru Kamakura was behind the incident. And yet she also doesn't know where this person is. Okay, so there's definitely something weird going on between Junko and Yasuke. They just kissed each other. Yasuke didn't object to it, and now Yasuke's poisoned by the lipstick. It's definitely something you'd see in some kind of movie. Probably not something that's actually possible in reality. But now he's been poisoned, and I think stunned by that. But it's weird because Junko is talking about to Yasuke about how Yasuke is prepared to fight for his love, and I would imagine that's love for Ryoko. But then he also apparently has this relationship with Junko. I don't know what that's about. This is getting weird, as if it wasn't already weird. Okay, now Ryoko is woken up after being, well, I guess well. Okay, now Ryoko is woken up after being poisoned by Junko as well, I think. And now there's like a bear maid, or a maid with a bear mask sending to her. Alright. Okay, is she having a weird dream here or something? Or what? She tried to leave the room where she was, and now there's a whole classroom of students with Monokuma masks on their face. They say, "We are mutants. Everyone is oppressed, and so we barred ourselves away." What? Everyone is oppressed? Are these the reserve students? Is this the parade that they were talking about? Like, is it a Monokuma parade? Ah, yes. Here's confirmation. Us mutants all belong to the reserve course. This is the reserve course's secret society. Okay, alright, so the reserve students are the ones that are behind all this stuff. Finally, some more confirmation here. So they're talking about the parade, and yeah, the secret society, this group, they are the ones that are behind the parade, and they say it's not a protest, it's a revolution. So this is the beginnings of the ultimate despair, or the beginnings of the Monokuma revolution that we see in those pictures at the end of Danganronpa 1. These are the people that start all of it, and they're the reserve students. So this does lend some credibility to my theory that in Danganronpa 2, a lot of the people in that game are actually reserve students, are actually people from the ultimate despair. Oh, they're talking about the ultimate hope here. The ultimate hope is someone with a talent that surpasses all others, a genius among geniuses. The pinnacle of human evolution, so to speak. So, when they're talking about ultimate hope, obviously the first thing you would think of is Makoto, because we refer to him as the ultimate hope at the end of Danganronpa 1. But I would not describe Makoto as a talent that surpasses all others, a genius among geniuses. Definitely not. The person who refers to themselves like that would be Junko. Junko always liked to say how she was hopelessly brilliant, hopelessly athletic, the hopelessly perfect human being and stuff like that. That's how Junko described herself. So is Junko being described here as the ultimate hope? That'd be kind of weird, but it's possible that this is that they think of her in that way. What the heck is going on here? So Ryoko was trying to escape. She's running along the hall, and nobody seems to care too much if she gets away from them. I don't know, maybe Junko is just trying to show her all this stuff and doesn't care that she leaves, didn't want to like kidnap her or anything, just wanted to show her what the ultimate despair is. But all these students are just watching a blank monitor that then turns red, and then now there's somebody on there beating somebody to death with a folding chair. Even if these reserve students were bitter about the elitism in the school, which is what they've been talking about, it shouldn't be to such an extent that they would lose their minds and all wear bear masks and stare at a blank screen, and then watch somebody like get beaten to death with a folding chair. Come on, that would never happen. There's got to be something more to this. They've got to be maybe getting brainwashed by Yasuke's knowledge or by Junko somehow. Like there's got to be something else to this. There's no way that regular reserve students would be like, oh yeah, man, this school, there's so much elitism in it. Now I'm gonna like go completely crazy, put on like a weird mask and stand like straight at attention, staring at a blank screen for hours. That doesn't make any sense. So there has to be something else that's causing this to happen. Okay, so I think this is a recording. This must be a recording of the events, of the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy. So they set up the tragedy of Hope's Peak Academy that happened before the events of Danganronpa 1. That was another killing game. So this has happened this has happened before already. And they say we've only seen it 5,818 times. Again, these people, they can't be just normal reserve students. They can't be sane. They had to have had something done to them. It can't be as simple as, oh man, the regular students are so elitist. Let's go watch this murder of this. Let's make them murder each other and then watch the video of it 5,800 times. It can't be all there is to it. And now Ryoko seems to have ran into some of the survivors of that killing game, because this person she's talking to right now can't see, and one of the people who was in the killing game had a bunch of like glass shards go into their eyes. So I think she's running into some survivors of the killing game right now. Strange that the killing game didn't go until everybody was dead, and there's actually some survivors of it, if that's the case here. Oh, so these people, they're locked up here and they're being tortured. I think maybe these aren't people who are survivors. Maybe these are just people who are are the higher-ups in Hope's Peak Academy. This person apparently knows where Izuru Kamakura is. So that means that they are alive and that they do exist. That's some confirmation of that, at least. So is this Izuru Kamakura person? Is this the ultimate hope that they were referring to? The ultimate despair, that is? Is that why they want to find him? So this is dangerous. This person actually gave the information of where Izuru Kamakura was to Ryoko. I don't know why. Why does he suddenly trust her? I mean, yeah, she's not wearing a mask like the other people and says that she's not with them, but that shouldn't be enough to tell this information when this person says that if they hand over Izuru Kamakura, it will be the end of Hope's Peak Academy. So why would he give up this information to her? Regardless, she has it now. He's in the old school building, apparently. And, yep, as expected, Junko is listening in on this conversation. Okay. And she's going, poo-hoo-hoo-hoo, of course, as you would expect. And yeah, apparently this person really just trusted Ryoko, didn't have any ulterior motives for telling her any of this stuff. And Ryoko was just used by Junko and Oshima to get information out of this person. Because they trusted Ryoko for no reason. Oh, nice. Kyoko's back. Okay. I'm happy about that because Kyoko means that a smart person has appeared. Maybe we're going to get some more answers here. So Ryoko just woke up again in the neurology lab. She keeps waking up. I've lost count of how many times we've had Ryoko waking up in an unfamiliar location, or just waking up in general in this novel. Feels like every single chapter she's getting knocked out and then woken back up and then knocked out and then woken back up again. Kyoko's actually making jokes? I didn't know she could. I didn't know she did make jokes. But she said there's apparently... So Kyoko was hiding underneath Ryoko's bed, and Yasuke used to do that as well. Apparently there's actually a hidden compartment there. He made a joke about how, oh, that's where he stored the dead bodies. Strange for Kyoko to actually be making a joke. Okay, no, it says it was not entirely a joke. Okay, so maybe somebody was storing corpses there, but I'll just keep reading and see where this goes. Kyoko actually knows that Yasuke, it seems like Kyoko actually already knows that Yasuke murdered the student council president, the one that he strangled to death, and says that he's also involved with the murders of a lot of people from the steering committee, a lot of the higher-ups of Hope's Peak Academy. So yeah, Yasuke's looking pretty suspicious so far. I still don't know why he's doing it. Junko, it doesn't seem like he's intentionally working with Junko, and yet he's protecting Junko, and he's also protecting Ryoko. Very puzzling. Ryoko really loves the saying, "It has nothing to do with me." She really seems to want to avoid a lot of what's going on here. And I can't blame her too much for that, because she's not really good at being involved with all this, since she continuously is forgetting stuff. So if you have the problem of you're constantly forgetting everything that happened just a few seconds ago, then it makes sense that you wouldn't want to get involved in it with anything. There's kind of bigger issues to worry about than other people when you have an issue that's that big with yourself. She screamed, and the door burst open. So does she have some sort of telekinetic powers? Is that what's going on here? Okay, so it seems like we've changed perspectives here at the start of this chapter, because it says Kyoko Kirigiri entered the neurology lab. That girl was still lying on the bed. Since we're referring to Ryoko as that girl, the perspective has changed here. And then there's a line that says, "Well, I hadn't expected such." So who is the I in this situation? It's not Kyoko, because she's also being referred to in the third person. This is an interesting line. Whichever outcome was fine. It didn't matter whether she saved them or sacrificed them. Her only role was to expose the truth behind the mystery as a detective. So Kyoko doesn't care that much, actually, if the people live or die. The steering members of the steering committee members of the Hope's Peak Academy. She actually doesn't care that much for their lives. She just cares about solving the mystery, which is quite cold, but I guess it fits her character a little bit. But still, I would have thought that I would still think that she would want to try to find them alive. Whoa, Ryoko just tried to kill Kyoko. So, at the end of this chapter here, so a boy emerged, it says. On that boy's face, like a death god to bring a bad omen to Kyoko, a wicked smile appeared. I don't know who this boy is. Maybe is it Yuto? I don't know. What are they talking about here? They don't address it in the next chapter yet. So they're just kind of leaving that hanging. But here, with her newfound psychic powers, Ryoko is trying to burst Kyoko's head like a watermelon. That's some attempted murder. It's not working, but that's concerning that she's trying to murder somebody with her newfound powers now. And now Madurai is back. Madurai just keeps coming back. So what happened to Mukuro? Mukuro just let him go? But Mukuro is working with Junko. Wouldn't Junko want Madurai taken care of more thoroughly? And this must be part of Junko's plan as well then, if Madurai is here. But why was Ryoko unable to burst Kyoko's head? So according to what Ryoko is saying in Madurai's response, it seems like Madurai has some sort of special ability that allows himself to heal or recover really quickly, but it does have limits. So that makes sense for a bodyguard if they're able to take a bullet and then be fine with it afterwards. That would obviously be very helpful for a bodyguard, for the ultimate bodyguard. What? There's two Madurais? There's two Madurais. There's Yoshiki Madurai and Goshiki Madurai. Oh, and they're both occupying the same space. This is like some Hunter x Hunter stuff. Like, what? Huh? Okay, they're octuplets. So there's just a bunch of them? There's a bunch of them and they just allow each other to die or take injuries? Is that what? So they're like have 9 lives, but they're all 9 separate people. And they can all individually die and then they lose their lives permanently? Huh? This is such a bizarre... How can you consider that an ability? So now Ryoko escaped through sheer luck. jumping out of building randomly and happening to get cushioned by bushes. By the way, bushes are not that cushiony. You fall into a bush, it'll be prickly, and it will not break your fall enough to save you from a fall from the 3rd floor. They'd have to be some pretty thick bushes, and if they're thick enough to stop your fall, they're probably gonna injure you a lot more than just a few cuts. And there's more Madurais already down at the bottom floor waiting for that. It's just so bizarre, but this is pretty funny. I like that. I like that this ability is just having multiple of himself, having twins. Very silly. Now Mukuro appears and is beating all of them up at once again. And I think they sent one of them over for Ryoko, thinking that would be enough. I don't get it. Is Ryoko the ultimate analyst, or does she have telekinetic or psychic powers, or is she the ultimate hope? Like, we still don't know enough about Ryoko to fully get... I feel like who Ryoko is, as her identity, is really important, and we still don't fully understand that yet. There's some interesting proportions on Mukuro there. She definitely did not skip leg day. Okay, so we weren't sure before, but now we have confirmation that Mukuro is also insane. She's also definitely ultimate despair. She also enjoys despair to a certain degree. She was talking about how Junko started to enjoy like causing despair for others and even enjoy her own despair. Somebody who is living as a sister to a person like that, you wouldn't just be fine with that. Like it would be kind of like I'm sure probably if you're watching this, maybe you've seen JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. The first arc of that show, it would be kind of like that. Both the sisters would be at each other's throats the entire time if one of them was constantly trying to cause despair into other people, including their own sister, I'm sure. So it would be horrible. And yet Mukuro is still doing things for her, helping her out. Why? It would only be because she also enjoys despair. She's also similar to her sister. That's the only way that would work out, and they wouldn't just kill each other. At least, well, not yet. Obviously, Mukuro is going to die in the events of Danganronpa 1. But yeah, in the events of Danganronpa 1, we only knew Mukuro as the original, as Junko Enoshima's, as her pretending to be Junko Enoshima. And she seemed kind of normal at the time. She never really did anything bad in that whole game. So we never really knew much about Mukuro and whether or not she was actually as crazy as her sister was. But from what's happening here, it seems like she is. Because she's going the whole oof, 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 kind of thing. And she says that only I am able of understanding her. Another weird grammar there that, yeah, they can't grammar. But yeah, basically what I was trying to say is clearly Mukuro is a lot more similar to Junko and is definitely not somebody to be sympathized with as well, which we didn't really know for sure until now. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so Mukuro is telling, so apparently Madurai does not know yet that the student council president was killed by Yasuke. Mukuro, though, does. And Mukuro, and if Madurai learns that Yasuke killed the student council president, Madurai will probably go and try to kill Yasuke as revenge. So obviously Ryoko does not want that, and Mukuro now wants Ryoko to kill Madurai in order to prevent him from going and killing Yasuke. So yeah, Mukuro wants to turn Ryoko into a murderer now. Is she going to actually do that? It seems like she might, considering how close she's become to murdering people in the past. So let's see what happens here. Yep, and she does it. Not actually surprising that she does that. Ryoko has shown that she's not quite right, even ignoring the fact that she has memory issues. The way she's reacted to things has all been very bizarre. So it's and she did try to kill Kyoko with her mind abilities previously. Was that just a fluke? Was that just nonsense? Does she not actually have those abilities? Was it just glass breaking because of glass broke? Am I misinterpreting that? It's hard to tell with this book. It's hard to tell what's actually happening and what's not. Wait, no, she didn't do it yet? I'm confused. Wait, what? It says, I reached my hand towards the silver knife, blah, blah, blah. I felt the texture of flesh, fresh blood. I stabbed. What? And yet now, and then you return to yourself. Okay, come on. I've got to say, I know I'm not even done with this, but I definitely have a lot of issues with some of the decisions that the writers made in writing this. This whole like, oh, it was just a dream. Then you return to yourself. Don't do that in writing anything. That's just not a good way to write a story. You go and write something where she's stabbing somebody to death, and then go back to them returning to themselves. You wake up and it was all nothing. I guess that can work in some situations, but it doesn't work here. It really doesn't. That was just confusing and off-putting. And just to explain my point a little bit more clearly, like, for example, imagine you're reading a romance novel and there's a part you get to a point in the romance novel where, like, the character confesses and then they kiss and then it's all great. And then suddenly it's like, they wake up and it was all just a dream. That would suck, right? You'd be getting cucked. It would not feel good. You'd throw the book in the trash. Or imagine you're reading some sort of action book and the character is fighting the big villain and they manage to pull off some really cool thing and slice the villain's head off. And then they reveal, oh, no, actually, that was just me thinking about doing that. That didn't actually happen. And they didn't make it clear beforehand. And they just like, oh, ha, just kidding. That didn't actually happen. Or one of the hero's friends gets killed. And then they say, oh no, sorry, actually, that was just kidding. Wasn't that funny, right? We made you feel really bad for the friend that died, but actually they didn't. No, you would hate that. And that's the thing that's happening here. This is also a big moment in the story. Ryoko actually killing somebody for the first time. That's a big emotional moment. And then you just go back on that? You don't get to do that. That just takes away a lot of emotional weight from the things that happen in the future in the book. Because what if they were just a dream? The writer can always just walk back on it. It's kind of similar to like having characters come back to life in a story. If you can just have characters come back to life and not really die, then it takes away a lot of the emotional weight of the storytelling as well. In this case, that's not really the main issue, though. The main issue is that it just feels like I don't know. It just feels wrong. I'm not a writer, so I can't explain it quite perfectly, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying. Interesting. Even though Ryoko didn't kill anybody like Mukuro wanted, Mukuro is still telling Ryoko where Yasuke is, because the plan needs to go on. The play needs to go on. So that just further shows that this is all just going according to what Junko wants. I guess this whole thing of Ryoko killing Madurai was just a side thing. It was just a thing to just cause a bit more despair, but it wasn't the main point of the whole plan, which makes sense. But yeah, let's see where this goes with Ryoko meeting Yasuke. Clearly Junko knows what she's doing, trying to pull all the strings, but what is this leading to? So Ryoko knows where Yasuke is. It's the old school building, the same place where Izuryu Kamakura is being kept in, and a bunch of these guards circle her, and they are obviously with the Ultimate Despair. They've got a white half white half black bear pin thing. So even a bunch of the guards apparently are part of the Ultimate Despair. And they're helping her get through to go see Yasuke. And now Yuto's here. Okay, so Yuto also snuck into the building. That's kind of good that he's here. He doesn't... I'm wondering what his role is going to be in all of this. I know somebody got bad vibes from him before. I think, was it Mukro that did? Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Somebody got bad vibes from him before. But he doesn't seem like that bad of a person, and he might end up being some help here because he said that he didn't see. I don't think he got in here because the guards let him in. So I don't think that Yuto is with the Ultimate Despair. Although, and I'm not totally sure if Junko has Yuto in her plans either, but she seems to have a lot of stuff in her plans, so maybe she's planned for this as well. Interesting. Ryoko's actually remembering things now. I was kind of thinking of it earlier. Her memory seems to actually be getting a little bit better as the story has been going on. She hasn't had to consult her notebook as much for certain things. She seems to just know things, and the story doesn't mention that she looked in her notebook to pick up the information. Could it be that Yasuke is actually the one that was limiting her memory with his treatments? Is that what's going on here? Did Yasuke inflict this condition upon her, protect her in some way? But anyways, this is talking about how Soshun Murasamurai and Izuru Kamakura were the only two survivors of the tragedy, but we already knew that. Ah, okay, and now Yuto is saying that Izuru Kamakura was the ultimate hope. So he seems to think that as well. Why? Why was he the ultimate hope? And from Danganronpa 2, it said they were the founder of Hope's Peak Academy. So I don't get it. Is he the founder or is he a student? Or were the names different and I actually have them mixed up? Is this like a descendant of the founder? And again, there's just another line. Sheltered upbringing, living completely closed off from the world. I was the same as him. I was shocked that it sounded almost exactly like myself. What do you mean it sounded exactly like yourself? You remember things now? You remember your upbringing? And how you lived closed off from the world? Is Ryoko just suddenly remembering her past? Or did she always have long-term memory of things that happened in her past and it's only short-term memory that she's lost? Like, which things has she actually lost here? Or is she getting her memories back and this is actually part of that? And this would seem to imply that maybe Ryoko, is Izuru Kamakura. And she is the ultimate hope. I still feel like there's something funky like that happening here. But that wouldn't make sense because the person said that Izuru Kamakura was being held in this place, and she obviously was not being held in this place. She was in the lab for most of the time. So that's not right. So maybe I had that wrong. So Yuto found some sort of elevator that he had a key for, and they're going down to see Izuru Kamakura, or they're going to floor B, whatever that means. And Yasuke is apparently also going to be headed there. He's talking about how when you have a talent, it predestines you to a specific path, to a specific goal, and you can't avoid it because that's the one thing that you're good at. That's your talent. It's not really true in real life. Your talent is often what you're good at is very often whatever you enjoy the most. It's just when you enjoy something a lot, you become good at it. So I don't really believe in this whole thing of you have a specific talent and then that's it, or people are specifically talented at certain things and that's just how they were born. Well, most of the time, your talent is something that you cultivate by just doing something through practice, through enjoying the thing itself. So yeah, that kind of thinking doesn't make a lot of sense to me, saying that because you're talented at a specific thing that determines your path. No, it's more like the path that you determine for yourself creates your talent. But let's move on, see where this is going. I don't know if I'm curious to see who Izuru Kamakura is actually going to be, if it's actually going to be a real person or not. Okay, is Yuto about to die? Because we're getting this dialogue from him talking about how he's gonna find the true culprit that's not actually Izuru Kamakura, and everyone's gonna praise him, whatever. And then we see, and then it happened right after that. Clang. Did he just die or something? Oh no, I think the elevator just stopped. And with that sound, I think the motors. Yeah. Okay, the elevator reached its destination. Maybe he's gonna get himself killed, but not here, I guess. Or not now. And we're getting pretty close to the end here of this novel, chapter 22G. It's interesting that they're going by letters now. Why is it still chapter 22? It's been chapter 22 for a while now, and it's not like normally I would expect with these lettered chapters that maybe it would be different perspectives during the same time period. That's why it's all the same chapter. But no, this is continuous. This keeps moving forward. Why are we stopping at chapter 22 and going A, B, C, D, E, F all the way to G now? Odd choice. Okay, I'm not sure if this is very smart. Yuto is telling Ryoko everything that he knows, basically, saying that Yasuke is an accomplice for Junko Enoshima, helping out with the murders, but also saying that he said Junko and Yasuke's love scene. That's probably not something you want to say to Ryoko, considering her relationship with Yasuke. Saying some vague words about a love scene with Junko and Yasuke, that's gonna make Ryoko go all yandere and start stabbing everybody around her, including you, Yuto. You probably don't want to do that, but we'll see. We'll see how he handles it. I don't think he should be trusting Ryoko at this point, considering her relationship with Yasuke and how Yasuke was an accomplice. What? Wait. Okay, so Yuto just died. His head got snapped? When? How? Huh? Okay, so Izuru Kamakura is here, and apparently Ryoko and Izuru knew each other in the past, but Izuru doesn't understand why Ryoko doesn't remember. So obviously Izuru has been in here for a while, but has been somebody that she knew in the past? Ah, here we go. Well, I guess I should start with Junko Enoshima's goals. Yes, please tell me Junko Enoshima's goals. I mean, I think we kind of understand she wants to spare, but how specifically does she want her to spare? Does she want it well done? Does she want it with asparagus or fries or brainwashing? Yeah, that's what it seemed like. It doesn't make sense for the people of the reserve course to do this unless she did something to them. Oh, so this is confirming a lot of things that I said previously, but Junko did set up the killing game that happened as the tragedy, but it was specifically designed so that this Izuru Kamakura person would be the last one standing, and it seems like they actually did end up killing people to survive. So, and just like with the events of Danganronpa 1, that stuff was broadcast, but it was broadcast to the reserve course. Was that all that was done to brainwash them? Because I don't think that's enough to brainwash them, but apparently that was part of it. And yeah, she wanted to show that hope, just that hope would all go and kill everybody as well. That despair is better than hope. You know, the usual ultimate despair kinds of things. It surprises me that the ultimate hope actually did that. Wait, this is Yasuke? Huh? What? I'm confused. Wait, this person who's been talking to them has been Yasuke this whole time and she didn't recognize him? So, wait, so is the person that she knew that has been treating her, was that Izuru Kamakura? And is this like the real Yasuke? Or is this actually the Yasuke that was treating her? Which is the case? Which of those things is happening here? And the sketches match the ones in her book. So this is actually Yasuke. She just didn't remember. That's crazy. Why? Okay, this is completely confirming that Yasuke was actually in love with Junko, of all people. And that's why Yasuke is doing all this stuff to protect her, to protect Junko, and even killing for her as well. Now this still doesn't explain why was Yasuke treating Ryoko? What was Ryoko's role in all this? Ryoko keeps trying to say, I don't know anything, and she seems to want to forget things. Well, what is actually the relationship there between Yasuke and her? And now Junko enters the scene because of course she does. But what does she want to? What is the whole point? What is the whole point of all of this? What is going on here? What? Did Mukuro and Junko switch places again? Does this mean the Junko I've known all this time? What was the point? What's the point of that? Why did Junko switch places with Mukuro again? Just to confuse Ryoko? But Ryoko, it doesn't matter for Ryoko. Ryoko doesn't know the difference anyways. So why did Mukuro switch with Junko? And the Junko that Ryoko has been interacting with this entire time has definitely acted like the real Junko Enoshima. And we know that Mukuro was not as good as an actor at playing her part as the real Junko Enoshima was. So this doesn't make any sense. I don't know what's happening here, but and what does that matter? What does it matter that they switched places and that the Junko that she met was actually Mukuro all along? Like, what is the significance in that switch up? I don't understand what the significance is there. Because either way, it wouldn't have mattered to Ryoko. Wait, huh? That face was, huh? Walking from behind Yasuke, she's ultimate despair. Walking from behind Yasuke, she slowly approached my face. Once she got close enough to the point where she was lined up with Yasuke, the face within the figure finally presented itself to me. I could remember it now. That face was mine? Ryoko Otonashi never even existed in the first place? Huh? What? And then everything went back to normal? What? What? What are they talking about? Are they saying that... Are they saying that Ryoko was actually the Junko Enoshima that... Did Yasuke think that Ryoko was Junko Enoshima or something and was trying to hide her away? But actually she wasn't the real Junko Enoshima? So there's the Ryoko Junko Enoshima, there's the real Junko Enoshima, and then there's the Mukuro Junko Enoshima? Are there three different ones? I don't know what's happening here. What does he mean by that? What does this mean? What does that mean? I think this is probably the last chapter over here. Ah, and we have confirmation. That wasn't any kind of treatment. I've been preventing you from remembering anything at all. But who's bleeding here? Okay. Putting my hands on my stomach, I could feel a warm sensation. So he was strangling her and then he stabbed her? What happened there? What was the point of that? Wait, that pierced Yasuke's flesh. Wait, what? The mouth of the girl who responded began to... What? The person known as Ryoko Otonashi no longer exists. Okay, if I'm understanding this right, Mukuro was acting as Junko Enoshima when meeting Ryoko, but Ryoko was actually the real Junko Enoshima the entire time. And Yasuke was just trying to continuously make her forget, make her not have any memory. So Yasuke actually was in love with Ryoko because Ryoko was Junko Enoshima, and that's why Yasuke said before that her heart was cruel or something like that. And maybe Yasuke continued to try to make her forget so that to protect her to prevent her from turning back into Junko Enoshima. And that's also why he got angry about Ryoko not even recognizing him or realizing that he wasn't important to her. Because Yasuke understands that, yeah, Junko Enoshima, I'm not important to her. Huh. Okay. I think I have that right. But how does taking away their memory, how does taking away Junko's memory prevent her from being investigated from the... Oh! I mean, I guess Yasuke was the one who helped with that, right? Yasuke helped with her being investigated by making her have these memory issues so that she can't give up any information. But everyone else should have been able to recognize her as Junko Enoshima, right? But nobody addressed her as such. They all understood that, yeah, she's Ryoko. And it seemed like some people recognized who she was, but they didn't. They weren't confused. They acted kind of confused, I guess, that she didn't have her memory, but they should have been able to tell her at least that her name was Junko Enoshima. So what was up with that? Did her appearance change as well? It can't be the case. And why did she think that she was the ultimate analyst as well? What if I told you the reason your mom got that way was because of me? So Junko Enoshima is actually the one who made Yasuke's mother have those issues in the first place? Now that's really cruel. Although we don't know if she's actually telling the truth there. So Junko's saying that, yes, he was very important to me because he was so nice, and now I get to kill him with my own hands, and it causes so much despair. Yeah, that's about what I would expect from Junko. That makes sense. It's that Yasuke was very important to her, and that's why she wanted to kill him. So now we're back to the perspective of Kyoko and the headmaster, and apparently they're again going to sweep everything under the rug, pretend that nothing happened. They're electing new steering committee members, and they're not telling Kyoko anything about any of the stuff that they know, but they know this is so strange. And apparently Ryoko, I don't know if people refer to her as Ryoko or Junko, but Junko got her memories back, obviously, and she's gonna go back to school as a normal student again. So Jin Kirigiri seems to understand that the ultimate despair is among them now. Is that it's one of the students, that there's still problems happening here, and is going to go do something to the old school building. I'm not sure what exactly. I'm guessing turning that into maybe maybe that is actually the Hope Speak Academy that we get locked up in the events of Danganronpa 1. I don't know. Okay, so one of the reasons for this plan from Junko was to learn Yasuke's methods of manipulating memory so that she could use it for her own ends in the future. And obviously she does. And now that's the end. So just Junko talking to Mukuro about her plans. All the things that she did in this novel were all just experiments. Experiments for setting up the events of Danganronpa 1. The biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history, all of that stuff. Now this is what confuses me, is the Ryoko that we knew definitely looks very different from the Junko that we know. I guess that must be colored contacts or something like that. And I mean, she's the ultimate fashionista. I suppose in that way it's somewhat reasonable for her to be able to change her appearance that drastically. But it sure is really drastic. But that's the end. There we go. That certainly told me a lot of information and a lot of good backstory on how everything was set up before the events of Danganronpa 1. I'm glad I know all of that now. It was definitely a bit weird to have a main character who had memory loss. It made things a little bit tedious at times, repeating the same dialogue, the same reactions over and over again. There was also a lot of telling instead of showing, a lot of dialogue between characters that was sometimes a little bit unnecessary and a little bit of fluff. Not all of it totally seemed like it had a point to it. For example, the entire character of Yuto didn't seem to have any purpose in the end. He didn't have any significance to the plot, really. He just had a few gags that weren't all that funny. He was just kind of a crude kind of character. We've seen that before in the games, so he's not it's not a unique trope that we've been introduced to here. So I feel like his introduction wasn't really necessary. The most interesting thing was the dynamic between Ryoko and Yasuke. That was probably the most interesting thing about this. And then, of course, whenever we got scenes with Kyoko, because Kyoko's great. Kyoko's probably my favorite character in any of these games so far, in Danganronpa 1 or Danganronpa 2. So I'm glad that she was in this a little bit. And then the scene with Makoto, like they said in the text, wasn't actually going to be relevant. It was just meeting Makoto randomly. So there were a few things. Oh, and then Madurai. Madurai also didn't have much significance to the plot either. You could take out Madurai, you could take out Yuto, and actually none of that really mattered in the end. What actually mattered in this? Because the whole point is that she's trying to test out different things. And in this, I guess she was testing out whether or not Mukuro could act as a fake Junko Enoshima. That was one of the things. Oh, right, and getting a hold of the memory manipulation stuff. But most of those things didn't need a lot of the stuff that happened in here to take place, right? Just by getting to the situation where Yasuke was treating her, that was already accomplishing the memory manipulation learning part of it. And Mukuro acting as Junko could have happened at any point. That didn't really necessarily need that person to die in the courtyard, or the person to get squashed by a table, or the thing that with Madurai tracking people down. None of that stuff actually was directly relevant to Junko's goals. And most of it, like, Junko was apparently pulling the strings with a lot of it, but I guess Madurai was trying to get in the way of Junko's goals, and so was Yasuke in a way, and so was Kyoko as well. So those were all obstacles for Junko to overcome, but in the end, the solution was always just to kill them. So pulling them around on strings, making them go this way and that, it wasn't really necessary from the looks of things. And how like Yasuke and Ryoko were led to the old school building, to floor B, to have like the scene that happened there. That wasn't really like all the different leading that she's doing, that Junko was doing in this. A lot of it seems like it was not required for her plans to succeed. She could have just outright killed Madurai. Could have outright killed Yasuke at any time. And Mukuro would have been able to accomplish that. It wouldn't have been a problem to set things up. I guess it was to set up to cause the most amount of despair, but even that doesn't quite fit. I mean, it fits from Yasuke's perspective to try to have Yasuke encounter as much despair as possible. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe this whole plot line with all this stuff was meant to get as much despair as possible out of Yasuke. Well, in the end, it's she's the ultimate despair. You can't really make sense of something that doesn't make sense. Like they said, it's like trying to put a mile on a scale. It just doesn't work like that. So I think trying to rationalize the doings of Junko Enoshima, I think that's actually wrong in the first place. So I probably shouldn't even be doing that. So let me stop trying to find rationalizations for the reasons why Junko did all these things in this novel, and just say that that's the novel. It got me a lot of backstory, a lot of context. So I'm glad I have all that now. Definitely, I might get some downvotes for my criticisms of the writing style, but I have to say them anyways because I'm just gonna be honest in any of my videos. I know this is probably translated from. This was probably originally in Japanese, so I'm not gonna knock any points for like grammar mistakes and stuff like that. That's all just silly translation issues. But I still feel like it probably could have. Things probably could have been done a little bit differently to make this novel a little bit more engaging to read overall. But it is what it is, and for better or worse, I did enjoy the ending of that, the way it all wrapped up in the end. It's just too bad that the first 60 to 70% of it was just confusion and insanity. But I'm sure other people probably just enjoyed that for what that was. And I certainly did my best to enjoy it for what it was as well. So on that rather, I guess, kind of negative note, I guess we'll end things there. But not to be too negative, because I'm still glad that I read this and got all the context for anything that might be coming up. But on that note, I will end things here. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.